Welcome back to Watching the Throne on the Late Night Chat Network, episode 20.
A little better.
Yeah, man. Welcome back, everybody. What's going
Come back. Yeah, not much, buddy. Just getting ready to talk about the season finale, man. How about you?
season finale? Yeah, no, for sure. Which for everybody out there, this is the season finale for season 2 of Game of Thrones. Make sure if this is your first time checking us out, guys, or you just have failed to do so far, make sure to hit that like button, that thumbs up button, and also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You can hit the notification bell to be notified of when these drop weekly. But we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with these dropping weekly for you guys on Thursdays. And you can also follow us on Late Night Chat Network, our Instagram account, for all the up to date schedules and everything else. But yeah, we're here to talk about the last episode of season 2. And this is the show where we review episode by episode of Game of Thrones. This is my first rewatch through the show. Never gone back and rewatched any of these episodes after watching it the first time over, the span of 7, 8 years or however long it was on the air originally. And this is Jay's first time watching the show ever after getting kind of interested from watching House of the Dragon very recently. And now we're kind of, Jay's doing it.
Taking a turn.
Listen, Jay's doing it the real way. He's actually going all the way from the past up to the present day for this show. So
That's the way I do. That's the way I roll, bro. You know me, man. I like to go before. I did that with Westworld too. All right. I went to 1883 first.
it's funny now because I saw a clip of the guy who played Gus on Breaking Bad. He was saying the actor Giancarlo or whatever his name is. I forgot that fucking guy's name, but I saw a clip of him saying that now people should go back and it would be an interesting viewing experience to watch Better Call Saul. Oh no, because it takes place. Yeah, he was telling you should watch Better Call Saul before you watch
Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad now and see if it actually changes your perception of any of the characters and the way that he was playing. I guess they had kept that in mind at the time that they may do something like that. So that's really interesting to me, though. That would be an interesting viewing experience because that is the one show I feel like was such a successful spinoff outside of Breaking Bad. Yet I'm interested. I don't think anybody started watching Better Call Saul that had never seen Breaking Bad, as far as I know. But that's kind of what you
Yeah.
did with this. So maybe there is people out there that
Well,
are now going to go back and watch Breaking Bad for the first time as a result of watching Better Call Saul, right? Because like without having the reference of a lot of those characters and coming in, you know what I mean? Like and not knowing any
mind.
of those guys, that's really interesting. That's really interesting.
Well, yeah, it would be. I couldn't see because obviously I watched Breaking Bad. It didn't. Better Call Saul didn't literally come out until after. Well, kind of like this didn't literally come out till after. But this never caught my attention in the beginning. Game of Thrones. So,
We're invested
um,
already with that one. Yeah, I know, I get that, but
yeah. So
I'm saying that's basically that would be the same thing if someone had never seen Breaking Bad, which I don't know. Like I don't know anyone that has seen,
well, probably Rob, but one of the other co-hosts on this
but
on the
he's never
network there.
watched Better Call Saul either, though. I don't think.
So make him watch Better Call Saul first.
That's what I mean. That would be a good viewing experience for him. You should mention it to him because if he's
I
never,
wonder if I could get him to do that.
there you go. Oh, there you go. There's an idea for you, folks.
It's a lot more fucking shows to watch, man. I got a lot already, man.
You love watching. You love watching them. Come on now.
No, I'm starting to realize as I get older, I'm starting to need my sleep. Not like I don't love it, but I'm starting to need it, man.
This guy, folks. I don't know who this is.
Well, no,
You guys are getting some good content on this show that we're not just talking about Game of Thrones here. It's interesting.
this is interesting. Yeah, no, but that last song that we played there on the last episode, guys. For you, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a the reason why I wasn't on. there's another artist in there that I didn't know that plays in there, and he's from the System of a Down, the Serge Tankian guy. He's in.
Is that the lead singer of that song? It sounded
He's
familiar. The singer of
yeah.
that song. Oh my
I,
god, that's crazy.
ah man, I was just looking at it. Yeah, I just sorry, I had to bring it up because on our previous one. Oh, you might lose me for a second, guys. Maybe I got so much stuff open, but you keep talking, good dude. I
Yeah,
don't know. This thing's weird sometimes with my internet, but yeah, no, I'm good to go.
that's hilarious. Yeah, so
But it is.
they played at the end of the last episode, guys. There was during the episode they had sang the song of the Lannisters, and there actually is a song of the Lannisters recorded that they played at the end of the episode, episode 9, in the credit scene. And so that's what Jay was referring to. Apparently, the lead singer of System of the Down is the guy who actually did the song of the Lannisters recording for them, which I didn't know, but that's pretty cool. I mean, those guys are geeky guys. I mean, they've even done like they did a Legend of Zelda theme song one time too. I remember that they recorded and put out there just for the hell of it, right? So that's pretty awesome that they do stuff.
It did sound like somebody I knew, right? I'm like, because I remember it now that when we played it from that episode, I remember trying to think about it in the car while I was, afterwards thinking like, I know the song sounded really good. I wanted to look for it, but now we know what it's called. So
Yeah. So the finale here, though, Valar Morghulis or Morghulis. Jay,
the
what
more you say it, the more you'll remember it. Don't worry.
what'd you think of this, Jay?
Interesting. A lot of shit to fucking unpack near the end too. Not there in the beginning. Like the beginning part was pretty much, yeah, a recap kind of or not even so much, a little bit of what happened last episode, and but a lot of, we're gonna get back to see probably Jon Snow in this one, and see it, but you're gonna see a lot of how it's a typical ending of a season of a show. You know what I mean? It kind of circles around everything little bit a little bit at a time, or just to remind you what happened or what's still happening, kind of,
Uh-huh.
and then you know gets you forward, throws in a thriller to kind of get you looking forward to next season.
I think they did a good job of juggling because as we mentioned last episode, they didn't focus on any other characters outside of that war that occurred at King's Landing between Stannis Baratheon and them. And for that matter, the fact that they had to touch base with all of the other characters' stories outside of that battle that they did it on the last episode. I'm really happy with the way they kind of did it that way. They didn't make that battle the last show of the season. They made this last show after the battle. They touched on not only the the characters that were affected by that battle, but also everybody else that we've been following story this whole season in this. And like you said, they not only did they not exactly conclude, but they closed the chapter or the direction of where they were in this specific moment in this season, and showed where the future lied for them. Right, they kind of pushed them in another direction at the end of this. All these people, so like I thought that was they really juggled a lot in this episode, and I think they did a pretty good job of it. Quite frankly, like I was really excited to watch the next one after I watched this episode. I was like, I know we didn't do it this time just because we weren't preparing for that one as of yet, but yeah, really cool. I thought this was a great episode, quite frankly.
Yeah, it was interesting. It did. It had a bunch of little things in there to try to focus on for next season.
And speaking,
So
and we are actually, I think, we're going to be having some of our first guests on the show that'll be joining. So I will tease that when we actually have that confirmed, because I just got to ask those people what episodes they wanted to do again, because I know that there was a couple episodes during this next season 3 that people were interested in joining us for. So I'll get back to you guys on that, and so stay tuned for that. That'll be interesting.
well, I don't
Uh,
even know what episodes, guys. So don't worry, I'm staying tuned too.
yeah. So yeah, so let's get into it here. The episode opens up with Tyrion wakes up with the sounds of the battle ringing in his head still, and we see him covered in bandages all over his face, with Master Pycelle standing over him, just kind of lurking. And of course,
So weird, dude.
well, we know that he did him wrong
Yeah,
previous in this season, right? I mean, this is one of the guys that he didn't trust, that he basically kicked out of the inner circle there of his council, and
yeah.
now he had him peering over him. So he basically yells to Podrick to like alert Braun and Varys that he's alive, basically because he's got Master Pycelle like looking over him in this moment. He's like, Podrick, go tell them I'm alive. Like, what are you doing? Get out here. Go tell these guys help. And so he is alive, and he's banged up, as we can tell, obviously, by the end of the last episode. And Master Pycelle mentions that Stannis was defeated by the hands of his father, and that he is no longer the hand to the king. And not only
Yeah.
that, he then threw him a coin for his troubles.
Well, it killed me, man. When I heard that, I was like, really? This guy just fucking helped your ass, just fucking saved your ass, and this is how you just toss him to the wolves?
And so it begins, Jay. Once again, the unforgivingness of this show, as Leslie tried to warn you in the comments a little while ago, because you were upset by what happened at the end of the first season. But yeah, clearly, and we'll get into it because as it plays out in the
I,
episode, he was instrumental in them winning that war. Absolutely, he played a huge part in it. But he was down for the count and he wasn't able to play the game, and therefore he got railroaded. And now he wakes up with his face banged up and every advantage that he basically worked into his favor gone.
yep.
Gone.
This poor
Gone.
guy's gonna start again. Fuck. It'd like to be interesting on how he turns now from here on out. This is where I started getting interested because, this can really, really piss you off, especially when your old man just says, you know what, fuck you, thanks. You know.
Yeah, this was, I mean, even though I knew it was coming, like I was upset by this again. Right?
Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, originally didn't know it was coming. I didn't know it was literally gonna be just like that, like a flip of a fucking coin. Like, to be honest with you, at the end of the day, I thought it'd be a little bit more than that. I mean, I guess he's just lucky that he can have a Lannister name. I guess,
Well,
right?
yeah. So then we cut back. Speaking of those Lannisters, we cut over to Joffrey there. Joffrey sitting on the Iron Throne, addressing his court there. And while he's on an Iron Throne, he makes his grandfather, Tywin, who comes into the room there. They basically anoints him as the hand of the king in place of Tyrion now, right? Which he gladly accepts.
Of course.
And as we know already, when he was prior to him coming to King's Landing, he had mentioned to Arya that this was going to be the war that he was known for, that he was retiring after this, essentially. So, of course, this would be the logical move to basically play king to a useless fucking king like Joffrey by being his hand to the king, right? This would be the logical next step for somebody of Tywin, of his stature, to basically um, be king in place of Joffrey, but not by name, essentially. But that he just wants to get close so he can basically do his thing, right? I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest. Like, I don't
I,
think
I I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how long he's gonna be around, right? The old man, but we'll see, right?
so. So that happens. Then Lord Baelish comes forward, and for Baelish's service of uniting the houses of Lannister and Tyrell during this battle, he was
He uses his brains.
he is rewarded with the castle of Harrenhal, with all of its lands and incomes to come in the future. When this happened, Varys is in the crowd.
I know.
He looks pissed.
I
Varys
know. I was trying to look for a picture, but they don't have one here on the IMBD.
Daenerys is like, clearly I picked the wrong horse in this game, in this race, right? He's just like, he is fucking pissed
Oh
because
yeah,
we all knew that this was coming because these two have already fucking threw barbs at one another during the course of this season. Now, like, because they're their only competition in that place. Like, they'll
yeah.
know this. Like, they both will deceive everybody else and align themselves with who they need to, but they
Mhm.
they cannot work together, these two, because they will get in each other's way. So they're enemies, essentially, in a way, right? So Varys, you could just tell the look on his face. He's so fucking pissed in this scene by this
Of
news.
course, bro.
And,
Wouldn't
and
you be?
of course, and Baelish has got like the hugest shit-eating grin on his face, right? He's like, "Oh yes, thank you, my lord," or whatever, right? And it's funny because who sent him on his way to broker this deal? Tyrion. Tyrion's the one that sent him over there to broker this deal for him. And as Tyrion mentioned to Varys, if he were to go down, he would lose. He knew. I mean, he called it before that battle. He's like, if I lose this position, I'll lose everything I've worked for this whole time. But he didn't expect his father to swoop in at the last minute and basically take all the credit for what had occurred. I mean, like, he did save them. Like, they needed that extra push at the end of the battle, but it was he did a lot, Tyrion. Like, he was the man that was in charge during that moment, right? So he did a
Yeah.
lot. He wouldn't have.
Yeah.
He made it easy for his father, let's say, at the end of that battle. So, you know, so then he offers the house of Sir Loras comes forward.
Yeah. Loras Tyrell.
And he offers the House of Tyrell a favor as a result of them aiding them in the war. His sister, Marjorie, having lost her husband and being innocent in all this, he basically wants to honor them in joining their houses, essentially, as a result of everything that has occurred here. And and then she steps forward and she's like, "Oh, I've come to love you, Joffrey, from afar," and blah blah blah. And we know that from previous conversations that Baelish basically had a conversation with her, knowing that all she wants is to become the queen. And therefore he kind of like brokered this deal to kind of unite them as a result of like him speaking with them over there, right? And so they, he's basically helping her out, and if he helps her out, she'll be in a position of power clearly to help him out. So he's not doing this just to be a nice, he's doing it for
No, he's still doing it for himself.
yeah. Again, I'm not talking ahead of myself here, guys. I'm like, you could just kind of see if you're learning how the game is played here in this show. You could tell that these are all just, they're just playing their power positions right now. Like, so that happens. And then Joffrey's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but unfortunately that I'm promised to another." And we all know that Sansa, and, he looks over at Sansa, who's on the side, and then Cersei basically interrupts and says, "For the good of the realm, you should drop Sansa, whose father was a traitor to us, and marry Marjorie, in light of all this." And Joffrey, he's like, "Listen, I got to stick by my vow, though. I can't just do that."
And the
Like,
gods. Yeah.
right? And then all of a sudden, the Maester comes out of nowhere.
Always, bro.
Yeah, always.
The weirdest times.
Of course, he just had to stick his nose into everything. This guy, because he's like, everyone's got to listen to me. I'm old and wise, right? So
He's Maester stats.
yeah, the Maesters.
Sorry, bro. I had to. I'm gonna get killed when she watches this episode.
We're gonna reference him, and we're gonna call him Maester Stats from now on. That's the old school way of saying Mr. Stats. Maester Stats. So that was surprising. I was surprised that Joffrey said all that he was not willing to just like be like, fuck her in this moment, right? But he was.
Yeah, no, his mom's even trying to convince him.
But the Maester says, like, listen, this deal was done. It was made before we learned of him being a traitor, and therefore you should reconsider, and you won't have any penalty done to you as a result of this, because he was a traitor, and that was in play prior to us learning all that shit. So nothing will occur if you move.
Yeah.
So then he's like, all right, so be it. He agrees to wed Marjorie in light of this news that they were able to provide him. And this is when Sansa from the sidelines walks off with a huge smile on her face, because
I was thinking, is she free?
She thinks she's off the hook. Yeah, she thinks she's off.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh shit, she's free, and I put a question mark.
Right. This is when Baelish
can't be that easy.
This is when Baelish comes and ruins her celebration. There, he approaches her, and sends his condolences on this news. And she tries to play it up like she cares, and he reminds her that, listen, this doesn't mean that you're completely off the hook. He will still torture you and have your way with you. He'll have his way with you. He's like, you think that Joffrey's gonna let his toys that he loves so much just
Just throws them away.
throw them away? Yeah. And she's so confused. She's like, What are you talking about? He's not marrying me." She thinks she's fine, right? And he's like, "No, no, no. Like, you're not off the hook yet." Like, so she says that, she reminds him of her mother, and he offers to help take her home. And, he's kind of coming off kind of pervy here, clearly, because she's a younger version of her mother, and he's kind of coming on to her a little bit here.
I was waiting for him to ask to work at the whorehouse. Is what I was waiting for, bro.
And
Sorry. Yeah.
in response, like always, she says, King Landing is her home now. And then again, like everybody else around her that's warned her, or just like literally last episode, the Hound warned her. He warns her once again in a different way. He says, "Look around. We're all liars here, and every one of us is better than you. Like, you don't stand a chance." Like, he's like, "What are you crazy? Like, let me take you home." How many people have tried to give her help at this point in time? Like, way more than anybody else has had offered.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. They think she's so innocent. That's why I feel like she's gonna just, blossom after her fucking. Now that she's become a lady,
Yeah. So I bet, she's still in the mix, but she's still in trouble. Her life is still in danger as a
she's
result.
still a Stark. Yeah, regardless, right? And
And look at
and they're traitors apparently.
Joffrey just traded up. I'll tell you that, boy. Oh my God. Not that he's into sex. He's a masochist, but
Oh my God, you fucked. Yeah, he's just gonna get him to make love to his swords. Oh
yeah.
man, that's kind of disgusting. I don't even want
So,
to think of that picture. Sorry,
so Jamie, Varys.
Eris. Yeah,
Yeah, we cut over to Varys now. He approaches one of Baelish's horse, and he kind of goes about it in like a way where he's kind of going to see her for an appointment, right? So,
yeah.
and she's trying to like come on to him. He's like, "Oh no, no need for that. There's no use for that with me, right?" And he asks her if working for Baelish is everything she wanted it to be. And this is when she goes to grab his balls and feels nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah, there's nothing there. No.
And then she gets really freaked out. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he basically, in response, he ends up, he offers her a partnership in a way. He's like,
Yeah,
"Listen," and she's like, "No, like I'm afraid of him, Lord Baelish." So it's like, you should be afraid of Lord Baelish, but he's like, "Listen, but no one, he does have a weakness." He's like, and he hides it very well. He's like, no one will know it except for me." So he's basically like,
yeah.
like, work for me. Like, he's basically after that news that
He's mad. Yeah, he's mad about.
he's coming at him from another direction now, right? Now this is him trying to plant seeds in his actual own whorehouse and on the
His
alpha.
weapon is working.
Uh,
Now you gotta joke. That's from like the last episode. So there you go. That's a reference for the last episode. His weapon is working.
so then we cut over to Jamie and Brienne, and
Yeah, sorry.
basically, this is where Jamie, as she's like making his way.
What's the fucker?
Well, no, he's busting out sexual questions, but I think he's doing it more to make her feel uncomfortable, and he's trying to figure out how she even has sex because she's so large and shit like that. Like, he's trying to, he's basically asking her sexual questions because he's curious, right? But he's just having a fun time with her, and he's enjoying, I mean, he's
Well,
prisoner
he's got to walk with her, right?
best of it. He's making the best of it, best of a bad situation. He's trying to crack jokes to her about shit, and this is when they come across some people hung off of a tree, and Bran thinks it's her duty then to bury them. And Jamie's like, "No, no, no, like, let's move along here. This is a dangerous area. It's like there's dead bodies here." He's like, "Let's get the fuck out of here. Forget this. Like, don't worry about this. Get out of here." Then, of course, as we've learned many times on this show, it's true. The woods are one of the most dangerous places you can travel in this world, right? There's everybody you don't want to run into in the woods, right? So then, of course, three men approach them, the men that killed these men that are hanging in the trees, which you find out after the fact.
Yeah.
And they basically start, making fun of her
Laughing at her.
a hard time because she's a woman, like, and everything else. Yeah, they're laughing at her, right? And Jamie's basically just trying to play along with it and act like she's just like some lowly prisoner, like, right? And because they ask, oh yeah, who's this here? And he's like, oh, I'm taking him. He's like he stole or whatever. He's a thief, and they said that he stole a pig, like he had to
Yeah,
steal food, and he's like, he's like, yeah, I had to eat or whatever. Like he's trying to pretend like he's someone he's not, just so that he doesn't, because he thinks they're in trouble if they find out, obviously, that he's Jamie Lannister, right?
yeah.
And then they almost get away with it, but then all of this, because all of a sudden the guy's like, I know him, actually, I have seen this guy before, because he's trying to ask him questions. Where are you from? And he's like, oh, I'm from here. He's like, oh, have you ever been here? He's like, is it near there, this place? And he's like, no. Then I've never been there, don't worry about it. And then so then she's like, okay, anyways, we gotta go. And they kind of make fun of her, and she grabs Jamie, starts turning around, and the guy's like, wait a second, I have seen this guy, this is Jamie Lannister. And she's like, you really think I'd be taking Jamie Lannister in the woods like this? Like, he's like, this is Lannister, right? And Jamie's like, yeah, like, I wish I was Jamie Lannister or whatever, right? And then the other guy, like, they're almost convinced, and the other guy's like, okay, well, listen, I'm gonna count to the count of three, and on three, you both tell me what his name is. All right, just we'll find out who's lying here. So he counts to the count of three. Right on three, she pushes Jamie to like away, and she kills all three of the guys. Man, she busts out the store, kills all three of the men. She kills them all. And then Jamie turns around to her and he's like, those are Starks, man. She's like, I told you, I don't work for the Starks. I work for Caitlyn Stark. Right? Like,
That's it, man.
right?
Straight.
Because she tells him that earlier before that scene happens, right? And she just straight up kills three Stark men because of the fact that they were going to kill her. But she's like, listen, I follow Catelyn Stark's orders. She has ordered me to take you. I don't work for the Starks. She's still like, I'm sworn into the Tyrells still as a result of, like, she just said this is kind of like working together with them because of what went down, essentially. That's always been kind
Yeah,
of, right? She has respect for Catelyn, but no one else really. And she's not like, I don't work for the Starks. Like, she's kind of set on that.
straight out. Yeah. I think Jamie's impressed too with the way she kicked ass there
Yeah,
too a little bit.
he was, because he was really worried, and that's why he was trying to avoid the whole situation, right? But when he sees,
Because he was playing his part right, to kind of go along with what she was doing to save his life. Because I mean, he already knows he's wanted by a lot of people, anyways, as the Kingslayer, right?
yeah, no, he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So this is we cut back over to, speaking of Lady Catelyn. There's a scene here where she gives Rob a hard time for loving this new woman despite already being promised to another. And we are talking about his soon to be wife here, because this
Yeah.
he had to go deliver to his mother now, because she said that he would wed her in the last the last episode. Anyway, so that scene happens. Then we cut back over to Stannis, who's with that witch woman whose name is Melisandre. And Melisandre, he starts giving her shit for their loss in the Battle of Blackwater, and he starts to choke her and basically asking, "Where's your god now?" as he's choking the life out of her, right? Because she is,
She's hot too, eh?
oh yeah, and she's the one that did obviously say, like, the whole this dark arts type shit was gonna be their victory, was as a result of that. There you go.
She's cute.
You have no
Man,
problem
I just
finding that photo. I'm glad. Everything else I ask you to pull up.
well,
Oh yeah, I don't know where that is. I
it's
know
whatever they.
this hot redhead. Oh, here she is.
I noticed her. It's all it was the hair.
Yeah. All right.
Fuck off.
Hey. Yeah, Rob's wife. Wait, Talissa. That's her name. Anyways, so she then says, basically, when he's choking the shit out of her, he has a moment where he comes to the realization that he's like, oh my God, I murdered my brother for this, right? Like, because he just remembered that he murdered his brother prior to this battle, because that's that shadow creature thing that she sent in there to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And he was just so obsessed with getting the throne in that moment. He didn't really care. He would do anything to kind of make that happen. And once now it didn't happen, now he's really pissed and he's taking it out on her, right? Because she promised
Yeah.
him, right? And then she quickly reminds them, is like, no, like, listen, we did all that for a reason. Like, this is the beginning. The wars will continue for years. You will be king. He's like, but you'll end up betraying a lot of people along the way to get there. Like, she basically lets him know, like, reassures him, like, this isn't the end of the journey, but like, it is gonna happen, I assure you. But at what cost? Like, there seems like this is going to be at a big cost to his personal life, this guy, right? And is like everybody else that gets close to him. So I'm with Davos and the other people that said that to him. That he shouldn't be messing with this dark arts, this woman, right? I wouldn't trust this woman. Like, what's it worth, right? Some people get so blinded by their dreams that they
My
kind of,
vagina.
yeah, that too, right? She's throwing that at him as well in other scenes. Like, that is part of it. That is part of
Yeah. So, but no, it is. I mean, he's pretty easily persuade too, though. That's the
it.
thing. Like, I mean, he doesn't seem that hard to, for her to, you know,
But she also has so she probably is also like, her magic is influencing him too, though, because there's the moment like where she grabs his head at the end. She's like, "Oh, look into the fire," and like he's like, "Do you see it?" Like she's like forcing him to like look into the flames, and like, you know what I mean, like brainwashing him essentially. You're right; he's easily persuaded here.
yeah.
Um, so then we got back over to your boy there, Theon, who's sitting and stewing about his current situation. There he is.
It looks fucking crazy, man. This season, this series, this episode, man, and this one, like that face. I don't know. Sorry, I had to do that as soon as he talks, but I knew you were coming up with him.
He's sitting and stewing about his current situation in Winterfell there, and he says to send ravens to tell his father that he wants to ask his father. He hasn't heard back from him, and he's like, "You've killed all the ravens." He's like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, like oh shit.
He's starting to talk about his first time, coming there, and yet how he was still a prisoner, despite being treated well. Like, he's like, you guys don't understand. He's like, I was still a prisoner, and then I go back to my father, and he disrespected me, and he's basically just trying to, like,
I think he was talking about how he's seen Winterfell too for the first time
uh,
when he was a kid, right, in the distance, sort of thing,
right.
and then him being captured by the Starks.
So then, they hand to their king there. I forgot that fucking old man's name, but the dude that's in Winterfell. Maybe you have it there.
Yeah,
He,
I know. I don't have that. That's the one guy I can't freaking find his name.
hold on.
I'm gonna try. I'll try. Go on. Uh, I know who it is because I just keep writing old man down.
Old man. Old
Yeah, I know there's a.
Old man Winterfell right down. Maybe that will pop it up.
Wait, hold on, let's take a look. Because it shows everyone that's in the episode, so hopefully I can find it. Dun, dun. But keep on. I'll pop it up. He's where is he? He's probably dead. Hold on.
Master
Lewin?
Lewin,
Master Lewin. Oh, okay.
or Lord
Yeah,
Meister Lewin. Yeah, there you go. Maester
Meister.
Lewin. Maester Lewin. So Theon, is speaking to Maester Lewin and about all this. And Maester Lewin, because he has known Theon his whole life as well, that his whole time in Winterfell, he suggests, he's like, Theon, he's like, just run away. He's like, take your 20 men. There's like, like, and get out of here. There's 500 Northmen that are outside of on their way here. He's like, you can't go back home now. Like, he's like, he mentions, like, I can't go back home.
Winterfell.
Yeah, he's like, I can't go back home. He's like, I'll look at like a coward if I go back home. And he's like, okay, well then join the Night's Watch.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
You can salvage this by joining the Night's Watch. He's like, all will be forgiven. Amends for what you've done can be made. He's like, he's known him for many. He's like, Theon, I've known you for many years. He's like, you're not the man you're pretending to be right now.
No, it's not. Yeah, exactly. You can tell too, right?
Course, led by the nose in this whole situation by that other guy, right?
Yeah.
His buddy there that he made friends with, that said, you need to, step it up and show these guys so they'll listen to you, right? So,
Yeah.
so then Theon then ends up going out. He tries to rile the troops, go into a losing battle, 20 of them against 500 of the Northmen that are about to come there. And that's when his boy there, his right hand man, knocks him out from behind during the speech. And then
Yeah, he gave a good speech though, and he was very intriguing. Like
he
like,
riled
he
them
had
up.
me going.
Yeah, he riled them up there for a moment. They're like, "Hey, are you ready to die today?" I was like, "Yeah." And then, like the guy like went up behind him and knocked him out. He's like, "Oh, what took you so long?" He's like, "It was a good speech. I didn't want to interrupt it." So he knocks him outside the head. And sadly, this is when Meister Lewin walks up and he stabs Meister Lewin, and he
Yeah.
grabs Theon after knocking him out. And he's like, "All right, let's get the fuck out of here. We're going home. Like, fuck this. Like, this was a stupid idea. This
Going back to the island.
yeah. Even though Theon did not want to do that, these men were like, "I'm not willing to die today, so let's go back." Right, so they do that. But Maester Lewin gets stabbed in the process.
Yeah, poor guy, man.
Yeah, that sucks. Anyways, Varys then visits Tyrion here at his bedside in this scene, and he says his sister had assigned that man to kill Tyrion on the battlefield. That's what he suspects, that man
That's
was
yeah.
meant to kill him, and that his sister would have did that. And Tyrion's like, "Why would you tell me that? Are you trying to get me against my sister now or something?" He's like, "What game are you playing?" And he's like, "No." He proceeds to let him know that that Braun, his hill tribesmen, and every other person that he had working for him has now been relieved of their duties, because he's like,
Oh
"Well,
yeah.
at this." And he's just basically letting him know, like, "Listen, I'm just here to help you in this moment, like, and then let you know this, because like." And then he proceeds to tell him that it's going to be a while since you see me till now. Like, he basically says, like, because he's like, "I can't work with you anymore. Like, you've fallen out of favor." Essentially, Varys is like,
You're
he's not
back at the bottom of the barrel now.
exactly. So Varys is like, "It's gonna be a while till you see me again." Unfortunately, lets him know straight up, right?
His
Uh,
sister and his dad fucked him, man.
Listen, he has to distance himself, rightly so. I get why he has to distance himself. I get
Well,
why.
this is why I want to see what kind of character he's going to turn out to be now. Because this kind of would piss me off. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, you just keep getting the shit end of the straw, even though, you know. So I even wrote his dad and his sister fucked them,
But when
cocksuckers.
he says
Yeah,
that he has to distance himself, he says in response, he's like, "And here I thought we were friends." He's like, "We are." And then he turns and Shay walks into the room. They brought Shay to him,
yeah.
right? And he made sure that she got away from that whole situation, right? And then he proceeds to tell Podrick to bring her in, and he says, "Listen," and this was actually my favorite thing that was said during this moment. A great, good scene, but he's like, "Despite the history books not acknowledging it, Joffrey never basically giving you your due." Like, he's like, uh, you know, there are people like himself that will know that they owe the victory that day to him. Like, that's you know what I mean? Like, there that's what I mean. Like, he was, and it's true. It is very true. But like he says, this will never be acknowledged. Like, you will never get the thing the acknowledgement, or their own people,
No respect, nothing.
the only people that will know are the people that were there that day with him in that moment, that might even forget or not even reference it ever. But he's like, "There's gonna be people that know, and I'm one of them." Like, right? So he
Yeah,
props there. But then he walks away, and that's then we see a Varys with Tyrion here, right? And then
with
Shay,
his girl.
yeah, she goes to see his scarred face, and he doesn't want her to, but she proceeds to anyways. She takes open the bandages. We see his scarred up face. He's pretty banged up, as she admits to him, and she basically says, "Yeah, you're a mess."
Yeah,
And
it could have been worse, man. I think I thought it was worse at the end of the last episode. I honestly thought it was worse
he's
when he
distraught
first
though.
took the shot.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he's distraught though in this moment. He's like, "Oh, great, I'm a dwarf and a monster now." He's like, "You should charge me double." And she gets all pissed. He's like,
Didn't
I'm
he
not
say he
here."
was broke too?
He's like, "I'm not." No, he's not broke. He's like, "I'm not
Okay.
here for money." He's like, "What's wrong with you?" And she gives him shit, and she, reassures him and reminds him that, basically, like, that you're mine and I'm yours, and all that shit they
Yeah.
said to each other. And she tries to convince him. It's like, "We should just go away, like, run away with me right now." It's like, "What do we need these people for?" Like, everyone. And again, this is one of those crazy moments where he's like, "No, but I'm good at this." He's like, I need to, like, be out there, like, in the action. He's like, "I can't let them win." Essentially, like, he's like, "I'm good
Still
at it."
playing the game.
still playing the game. Yeah, he's still playing the game. He just knows. He's like, I'm very good at this. I'll get back on top. Like he's convinced, right?
It's like Monopoly. He's not in jail. He's in the hospital for a bit. He'll be back up and ready to play the game again.
Tyrion said he belongs here with these bad people. He's like outthinking them, outsmarting them. He's like, I enjoy it. He's like, you don't understand. But but if you don't want to, and you're telling me you're gonna leave me, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna leave you. I would only leave you if you were coming with me. She's like, I'm staying here. Don't worry. But yeah,
Yeah.
this does not bode well. This whole situation. This does not look good right now. I gotta say. Anyways, then we cut back to Rob getting married to
Vegas style.
yeah, weds to Lissa, against his mother's wishes, clearly. And then
Who's been listening to their mothers in this show? Not really many people except Joffrey.
oh, and then we go see your girl there, Jay.
She's
Daenerys
back for an episode.
back for an episode. She approaches the house of the undead there with a Dothraki tribesman and Jorah Mormont. Then and they're outside the thing and they're struggling to find a way in.
The weird, yeah.
It's like they keep running around the exterior of the castle and she walks ahead and Jorah is trying to follow her. Yeah. So they
Sort of weird structure.
yeah, like they can't actually find a doorway in. Like so she goes ahead of him and Jorah does a full circle around until meeting back up with the Dothraki guy. And he's like, where the hell is she? Right. And then she somehow made her way in. There was some sort of a trick that they played on her and somehow she ended up inside of the place. And she's, Jorah's freaking out and she's inside and he's like, oh, you want to play these games type of thing, with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she's now made her way into the castle and she's trying to make her way to find her dragons and find that warlock dude. Right. So, um, and then we see the dude there, the man of many faces dude. What's his name? Jaquen Hygar, or at least
Hygar, yeah.
the name that he's given us at this point in time. Uh,
Jacqueline.
yeah. So we see him now, and he meets up with Arya after she escaped with her friends there, and basically tells her, that she will go with him to meet the faceless man or whatever. And she says that she wants to, but she can't because she has to go and find her family now. And then he's like, okay, well, here he gives her a coin, and he says, this is JT's favorite part here, guys. Why don't you tell the folks at home? Go ahead. You have your notes here. You reference.
Which one? I did I reference it?
Yeah, this is when he gives her the coin, and he says, "Well, listen, if you go to Bravos and you give this
Well,
coin."
I can't say the name anymore though. I can't say the name. That's the problem. I know you heard you say it. I can't say it, man.
Valar
Wait,
Morghulis.
Valar Margolis. There you go. Yeah, you have to say it first, and I can repeat it. And sometimes those are some fucking weird names.
Yeah. So he basically gives her this coin, and she's like, "Oh, what's this for?" And he's like, "Oh, this is a very special coin. If you go and give this to anyone
Yeah.
Bravos and save the name Valar Margolis, like they will find me essentially." So she basically lets her know that there's still an opportunity to meet up with him and for him to take her where
I
she.
wrote the title of the episode. That's why I didn't even write it down. I wrote in brackets the title of the episode.
And this is where there's the freaky part happens. He then turns around and turns back to her to show a completely other face. Like he somehow morphed himself into another personality of some man entirely, right? So and the fact,
Dang.
yeah, there you go. This is how he looks now. and
What a weird face.
the fact that he basically told her like he wanted to take her to the faceless man, it looks like he has some sort of power to morph into other, they can just transform themselves into different people, I guess, or something like that, right? So
It's looking pretty cool, man, that way. Yeah, these guys got that. Like, I don't know where these special powers are. I thought it was just dragons and shit.
like I said, this season's probably they're on display the most, I would say, this second season, all the crazy shit that exists in this world, right? We haven't even got to the end of the episode yet. Anyways,
No, I know.
that's when that happens, right? So there you go. That's her new journey essentially for next season. That gets all set up. These are all setups, guys, essentially here. So then Osha, now we cut back over to her and Hodor and Bran, and they come out of hide and the other brother, and they're coming out of hiding to find Winterfell burnt down. And
Crazy, eh?
yeah, it's sad. And then they find Meister Lewin sitting under a tree, bleeding out. and he tells Bran to run in case that they return. And he basically lets them know to go to the wall where Jon is. And
Head north.
yeah, and he says, "Hey, listen, he's like, I'm happy that you are both still alive, and don't worry about me." And he considers himself very lucky to have seen them throughout their lives and serve, like, essentially Winterfell. But it's a sad moment because he's sitting there in the garden watching Winterfell burn down, and he's bleeding out, and he basically then they go ahead and he ushers Osha back to him, and he basically tells Osha like to protect them. He says that you're all they have, and she offers to grab him milk from the poppy if he tells her where it is, and he says no, like kill me quickly, kind of like put me out of my misery here, and he points to her, motions to her knife,
Yeah.
and and then they don't show it, but they cut away, and then you see them. Now she's back up with them, and they're travel, walking away, but looking back at Winterfell, kind of destroyed and burning in the background. And it's just like, oh fuck, there goes Winterfell. So now there's no one in Winterfell. There's no Starks in Winterfell for the first time ever in the history of Winterfell, which is like they said, if there's no Starks in Winterfell, then there's no Winterfell. Like they've fallen. So Winterfell no more. And the king of the north is out and about trying to like do his own thing right now. Rob, who's the supposed new king of the north, and yeah, so that's a whole scenario, guys. So that's it for that episode, right?
Yeah.
So I cut back to Daenerys, and she continues her way inside the house of the undead there, and she makes her way into a room that has snow and like cold elements.
Different doors. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that transforms into basically a vision of her being outside, like actually like in the Arctic or something. It looks like some crazy, like she's out in the snow, and there's a tent out in the snow. And this is when we see our boy there, Momoa once again shows back up, Cal Drogo.
I know he doesn't. Is this like one of his last appearances now? I thought he was done. Unless she just has visions of him, right?
He's dead, right? So this is Cal Drogo returns for this scene because we haven't seen. Yeah, no, we
It's
haven't
weird too.
seen him this season at all. I think he died at the end of the last season, right?
Last one, yeah.
So yeah, Khal Drogo has a moment with her, and whether it's real or not, or this is actually in the afterlife, and that is represented in this castle. Who the fuck knows, right? Because it is the castle of the undead or whatever the hell it's called, House of the Undead. So,
Yeah.
so she has a moment with them, like he has a baby. I guess that was like a vision. If they had a child together, he's sitting there with the baby, and he basically says like, I don't know if this is real or not. But if it isn't, I don't. If it is or isn't, like I don't want this moment to end, and I'll kill anybody that tries to stop this moment. Like he was having like a nice moment with her, and even her, like there's a moment where she kind of wanted to stay there. It seemed like and continue this, but then she comes kind of snaps back to reality when she hears the cries of her dragons like in the background, right? And that moment ends, and she kind of pulls herself out of that back into reality when she hears the cries of the dragons, and then she walks into a room, and all three of the dragons are chained up there sitting, and she's found her dragon, right?
She found her. Yeah, she found her babies, as
And
she calls them.
yeah, and then this is when the creepy warlock dude shows up, and in multiples, like there's a version of him coming from like all directions into the room, like talking to her, right? And he lets her know like, listen, my magic is stronger with those dragons here, and their magic is stronger when you're here. So guess what, now you're my prisoner here for the rest of the time, essentially. And then she turns around and she sees that now she's chained up to the chains on the wall, so now her and her dragons are chained up, but the
Bro,
dragons,
look what they did to them, man. Like this is animal cruelty, man. I don't like this. This is not fair. Like you don't chain dragons up. They're an instinct animal.
his favorite characters are the dragons, guys, by the way. uh, yeah, so he basically
They
explains,
look so cool.
yeah, they are.
Sorry.
And in response to them seeing that she's in distress in this moment, they turn around and they shoot some flames at the warlock, and he catches fire, and they destroy him. They just start going crazy. Like first it's just like a couple of flames, and he possibly put it out, and then all of a sudden you see them in the background just going crazy, right? Like with the fire, and then he's like like, and he just like
Yeah, this was one of her moment scenes. This is probably one of her picture perfect. What do you call that? Um,
redemption.
how like she's found herself. There's her dragon shooting fire in the end. Sorry, man. It's
Yeah,
just right there. It's the one that yeah, that was around that scene there. She
yeah.
just raises her arms as she's chained there, or they're chained. Sorry.
Gone through a lot of disrespect this season, right? So that was a good moment for her, right?
Well,
Uh,
fuck her, but still.
doesn't end there. Then we cut back to John and the Wildlings as he continues to be their prisoner. And then he continues to talk shit and play up the idea that him and his ranger, his name's Curran, Quirrin, I think is his ranger,
I don't.
and they're fighting one another once again, and basically, they're once again fighting each other. And last episode we weren't sure if they, or the episode before, we weren't sure if they were just putting on a show
Yeah,
right now. Smart then what, because I looked it up because I was curious. So what it looks like is like this was a legit fight, but the man forced him to fight him against his wishes because he knew that the only way that John would survive is if he took him out and became part of their tribe, essentially, like part of
yeah.
them. He had to basically become part of the wildlings to survive out there. So this man raised
Otherwise, they probably would have killed them both near, when they bring him to their master or whatever.
forced his hand. He forced
Yeah.
his hand. He tried to help John out in this moment. And
He knew he was older.
yeah, so he forced his hand in that moment. John ends up killing him, and then the leader of the wildlings guy, with the guy with the skull on his face, he basically said, um, he basically chain him essentially and allow him to like join him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically he knew the only way was for them to survive was that by him joining their army, essentially, right? And he kind of gains their respect a little bit in that moment, and then the woman takes them over to above on the corner of the hill there, and they look down on the hill, and she's like, "Well, now it's time for you to meet the king beyond the wall." Essentially, and it looks like he's now going to be accepted into the wildling society or something, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that happens. So that's again another new direction for John the next season. That ends.
Yeah. See, this is what I mean. They're putting a little bit of like a. I hope we see what's gonna. They give us a little tease for what's gonna happen next
Yeah,
season for everybody.
point them in a new direction. That's what I said. I said earlier.
Yeah, I'm starting to see like which ones are gonna be in the next season. Still,
Yeah.
you can already tell from this episode.
So then we cut back over to Jorah and Daenerys, who wake up a sleeping Zorro and force him to open up the vault that he had promised her whatever was
Who
in
do
it.
you have a hooker with him or?
I guess, yeah, he had a woman in his bed there, and they forced him to open up that crazy vault that he had, that he kept teasing her with, that he would give her like all the riches in it if he married her and everything else. And they forced him to
You
open up
open
the
it.
vault. Like, guess what's in the vault, everybody? Nothing.
Well, well, I was gonna show you a big emptiness of what this whole thing consists of. There you go. Boom. They're on the outside of the vault there.
Whatever.
In this one, looking at.
And isn't it a great metaphor though, guys? Like she's like, "Well, thank you." She's like, "You've taught me a very valuable lesson there today, right?" Kind of like, it was one of those things where she kind of just held it over her head this whole time, and at the end of the day, there's nothing in there, and they basically drag Zorro and his woman there into the vault and close the door forever on him, imprison him in there as payback essentially for this. And he's like, "I'm the king of Quar now or whatever. I can help you, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
Like, truly, I can help you. And they're basically just like, yeah, too late. Like, you kind of just lock him in the door there, and they're on their way, guys. And then they basically ransack the place. And this is when she lets the Dothraki finally rob the place blind.
Rob it. Yeah, take all the gold. Jorah says.
He turns to Jorah and she's like, "Can we get a boat for this?" And she like shows him like, I don't know, like a vase or something, like it's something like gold, or like a gold piece of something. And he's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, you can buy plenty of boats with that." And she's like, and she just laughs, and then just like, "Yeah, they're just gonna rob the fuck out of this place now after being cheated out of everything this whole time, right?" So yeah,
yeah,
get their redemption at the end too, and basically they're going to sell the money for ships with the Dothraki and their dragons and be on their way. So that's that again. Once a new direction once again for Daenerys at the end of this. And finally, one of the craziest parts of this. What a fucking scene to end the finale on, guys. We cut back to Sam and his other friends of the Night Watch, who were not with John, that were, outside the beyond the wall, but somewhere else this whole
those
time.
are the ones that found the glass the last time. Yeah,
Yeah. And Sam talks about the woman that he met. He's going on and on about that woman that he left in that other town. Right. This is when the horn blows, and if you guys pay attention to what the horn, different horn sounds, like how many times they blow it means. If it was once, what the fuck was it? If it was once, two of them was to warn them of wildlings. One I think
Yeah,
was, I forgot what the one was, but
all
uh,
clear, I think.
yeah, and then two of them was wildlings. But the three, as Sam mentioned to those guys, is to warn people of White Walkers. So he hears three blows of the horn. They all look at each other like, holy fuck. All of a sudden, the snow and the wind starts picking up and going crazy like around them. They're like in the middle of the snowstorm, and Sam falls and lags behind them, falls in the snow. The other guys run ahead of him. He loses them. And then he turns around and he sees approaching him an army of the undead, frozen White Walkers walking through the snow. Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
no, that one didn't come through right. Sorry, guys. Apologize. My apologies. Go on.
so
I got.
yeah, we'll have to bring that up. But and then he hides behind a rock, and because he's and then he's like frozen, shut, like he's like can't move, right? He's like frozen with fear. All of a sudden, these dead, like undead, like zombie, like frozen creatures start walking past him, past the rock, and he see a guy come up on a horse. Yeah, there he is with the sword. Clearly,
Yeah, bro.
like the leader of these folks. I'm just gonna put it out there.
He was on a white horse. Yeah.
White horse leading these guys. He looks down at Sam, and Sam looks at him, and all of a sudden he just lets out a roar, and he fucking basically goes onwards like to all his men, and they all start following him. And it looks like they ignore Sam in that moment because he's just like, they just keep marching like throughout the snow. But guys, we have confirmation for the first time, like that there is an army of the undead White Walkers that exist in this world that they've been teasing this whole fucking time. Sam is the first one to experience that firsthand. Jay, what did you think of this ending, man?
Again, once again, I wrote down what the fuck, man, because they always do this at the season finale, and they introduce something different. Like the last one was the fucking dragons, and now this one you got the White Walkers now. So, well, they also had the kind of ghost sort of thingies, that black spirit that came out of her vagina in that last one too, in the beginning of it, right? Remember? And
Right.
yeah, and now you got these guys. So I'm going, what the fuck is going on? Not only wolves and dragons, now you got some crazy ass dead people walking around that are not normally. They're actually really tall, man. They don't look like they're regular sized people.
Yeah. And I should mention too, I failed to mention it before, uh that they when he killed his ranger dude, John, they said to burn the body because he's like, you don't want that guy coming back from the dead for you. So like again, wildlings are aware that this is a real thing and they deal with it outside of the wall. But the outside the world, like not beyond the wall,
Yeah,
not know that these things exist. They think it's a myth. Like they
yeah.
honestly, there's some people that do that have experienced it firsthand, but then it becomes a story, and then people like like aliens or shit like that, or people didn't believe people about aliens. It becomes a story that people telling other folks, and without proof, they don't believe it, right? Like there's a lot of people that don't believe this, that the fact that there's White Walkers beyond the wall, and they think that it's pointless. The fact that the Night Watchmen are out there, what are they doing, right? But now we have confirmation that
It was.
it is real, right? In this world, it is a thing. So,
It's kind of trippy when you think about it
right.
because I was waiting to see something, right, about it and on it, right. So I'm kind of happy to
End the season this way.
end the season this way, get a little bit of who's kind of gonna stick around next season, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So great episode. Great episode. I was really impressed with the way it ended, and I can't wait till the next season because I think the next season is gonna blow this season right out of the water. I think I know a couple of the big things I have the next season, and I can't wait. I can't wait for our guests to come on and yeah, continue talking about it with you, Jay. I think this next season is gonna be one of those we might have to kind of continue watching ahead. We might have to be doing notes and doing 4 episodes at a time or something, bro. I'm telling you, there's crazy stuff that happens this next season.
There's a lot of writing already, man. It's just gonna get crazier, I feel. There's more stuff going on, more things to write down. It's getting
I'm
interesting.
getting faster with the notes, but you're
Well, because I mean, like you said, you've seen it before, so it's a little easier.
right.
Myself, yeah, it's a little bit harder only because this is my first time watching. I have to pause it sometimes too, right?
It is nice though. I mean, even though when I look at my notes and it kind of gives me a direction of like scene to scene what happens, half the time now I don't even read them off the notes because I know when I bring up certain scenes what already occurs. Like you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
you fucking got a memory. It absorbs like a sponge. I know.
No,
We've already figured this out.
but it helps taking the notes. It helps
Yeah, no shit.
notes. That's what I mean. It helps
Yeah.
for that reason alone to be able to have this conversation. Like I couldn't tell you outright scene by scene by scene by scene. And that's why it's nice to look at the notes that I've taken. But then I also sometimes will just start saying the note and I'll be able to describe to you what happens just because of memory.
Well, for this episode, in instance, like how many notes you take? Like you do it by page, or what do you do it by? Just sticky
So
notes?
so I do it from anywhere to 3 to 6 pages of notes each.
Okay, so I have five, so it's not so bad, man.
I had
So
So I'll tell you right now, in this one I had I think I had six for this episode. Two, three, four,
I'm gonna
five,
run out of books, man.
six. I had 6 pages for both of our episodes that we recorded. This one in Blackwater.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
See, I
Oh,
tell
I
you
got.
shorthand too, but mine aren't so short either sometimes, right? I
It's
just have
hard, bro. Like, just
So
you
guys, there
know.
you go. You can tell the work that goes into these episodes. We must be enjoying ourselves, or else I don't know why we keep doing
Well, I'm gonna have to start digging out, like I told you, the scotches to show you guys again. I know where they are. It's just I got to get into the closet. And, yeah, that's a whole nother situation. But yeah, that we could talk about that on our weekly show. But yeah, for us now, I'll let you know that we'll have the bottles on display here and there throughout the time.
I would like to see those. Yeah. So we've been teasing that for a while too. So there you have it, guys. That's the season 2 finale. Valar Morghulis or Valar Morghulis. I don't know how to say it, but
Well,
that's
you better say it again because I think that's the name of the new episode in the third season.
is that the first episode's name?
Yeah, it's called. It looks like it's called the same thing.
How is that possible?
I don't know. You tell me. Am I wrong?
Look, I'm not saying you are. You have it up, right? But I mean,
Yeah, and the second, unless it's just one of those. I don't think it's just one of those ones that my Google's not responding right now. So both of them aren't. So if it cuts off, guys, I love you all, but
what your internet?
no, no, I just don't.
No, it's Valar Dohaeris. Looks like, and there goes Jay. All right, there, guys. There you have it. So make sure to tune in for your next episode, which is going to be. Oh, this guy's coming in from like there he goes. Two J's. He's just like that warlock in this episode now. He's like, oh, hello, Khaleesi.
I don't know how that's on there. To be honest with you, the second one, I don't know how it's still up there, but yeah,
There you go. Jay pulled a little bit of his own warlock moves there.
that was actually pretty cool. If I would have known that.
Jay's a warlock too. It's Dicklock.
That's my superhero name. What are you talking about?
Dicklock. But yes, okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you for the first episode of season 3 next week. And yeah, Jay, I told you it's not Valar Morghulis, it's something Valar Dohaeris.
Oh, maybe I just because I seen the beginning part. Yeah, I
Dohaeris. I don't know if that's how you say it, but yeah, that is the first episode of season 3 of Game of Thrones. So look forward to that, guys. And like I mentioned, we'll be announcing some my guests that'll be coming on discussing some episodes from this season. Jay, I can't wait for you to watch this season, man. Some of the biggest things that happened in the whole history of the show happened in this season. It's gonna be crazy, my friend.
well, we'll have to see if I enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying it so far. So,
I think so. I think you'll be enjoying it more. Trust me.
you think so?
I think so. I think so.
All right, that's good to know that. As long as you are giving me some reassurance, then I feel fine.
All right, there you have it, guys. We will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Later.
Later, guys.
You gonna play us out, Jay?